AITA for ruining my sister's wedding by exposing a family secret during my speech. I, 28F, have a younger sister, Lily, 26F, who just got married 2 weeks ago. Our relationship has always been complicated. She's the golden child, the favorite of the family, the one who could do no wrong growing up. I was the responsible one, expected to have my act together and support everyone else, especially Lily. My parents always told me I had to set the example, even when I was just a kid myself. Despite our history, I genuinely tried to be happy for her when she got engaged. Her fiancé, now husband, Tom, 29M, is a really decent guy. Kind, grounded, and honestly way too good for her, but I kept that to myself. I was asked to be the maid of honor, which I accepted with mixed feelings. I wasn't super excited about the idea, but I thought it would be a good chance to finally patch things up between us. Now, for context, there's a long-buried family secret that I've been sitting on for years. When I was 17, I found out that I'm not my dad's biological daughter. I discovered it accidentally when I had to get blood work done for a school project, and my blood type didn't match either of my parents. Long story short, I confronted my mom, and after lots of crying and denial, she admitted she had an affair while she was married to my dad. Apparently, they decided to keep it quiet and raise me as his daughter anyway. My dad knows, but no one else in the family does. Not even Lily. Finding that out at 17 messed me up in more ways than I can explain. I've always felt a little different, like something was just off, and it explained a lot. My dad never mistreated me, but there was always a distance between us, something cold and unspoken. Meanwhile, he adored Lily. At the time, my mom begged me not to tell anyone, especially Lily. She said it would destroy the family. So I kept it quiet. For 11 years. Back to the wedding. Everything was going smoothly until the reception. I was scheduled to give my speech right after dinner. I had a safe, boring speech written. But then, Lily stood up and gave hers first, and I swear to God, I still don't understand why she did what she did. In the middle of her speech, she started thanking family members. And when she got to me, she said something like, "And to my sister, the best maid of honor I could ask for, thank you for always being there. Even when you were jealous. Even when you struggled with not being the center of attention. I know it hasn't been easy being in my shadow, but I love you anyway." The entire room went silent. I just stared at her, stunned. Some people awkwardly laughed, probably thinking it was a joke. But she looked directly at me with this smug little smile that told me it absolutely wasn't. Something inside me snapped. 11 years of swallowing my feelings, of being the support system, of carrying a secret that wasn't mine to carry, it all exploded. So I got up, walked to the mic, and started my speech. At first, it was the one I had written, but about a minute in, I went off script. I said, "It's funny Lily talked about being in her shadow, because I've spent my whole life trying to be okay with being treated like a second-class member of this family. But since we're doing honesty tonight, maybe it's time for a real family truth bomb." I looked directly at my parents, who had already gone pale. Then I said, "Did you know I'm not actually Dad's biological daughter? Found that out over a decade ago." Surprised? Yeah, me too. The room went completely silent again. I finished the speech by saying, "Here's to Lily and Tom. May your marriage be built on more honesty than mine was ever given." Then I walked out. Needless to say, the aftermath was nuclear. My phone blew up for days. My mom sobbed, asking how I could do this. My dad hasn't spoken to me since. Lily called me a bitter bitch who ruined the happiest day of her life. Tom, oddly, sent me a message saying he didn't condone how I said it, but that he admired my guts. Friends and extended family are completely divided. Some say I was justified after Lily's dig. Others think I should have been the bigger person and stayed silent. My boyfriend thinks I just finally had enough and doesn't blame me at all, but he also thinks I should have waited until after the wedding. I'm conflicted. Part of me feels guilty, but another part feels like I finally said what needed to be said. So, AITA, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, When do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. AITA for ruining my sister's wedding by telling the truth when asked why I wasn't in the bridal party. My 28F sister, Hannah, 32F, got married 3 weeks ago. It was a big, beautiful wedding at a vineyard, the kind you see on Pinterest boards. I wasn't a bridesmaid. I wasn't involved in the planning. I showed up like a guest, even though I'm her only sibling. That's the core of the story, but it's more complicated than that. Growing up, Hannah and I weren't close. She was always the golden child, pretty, smart, outgoing. My parents doted on her. I was the shy, awkward one who loved books and animals more than people. I didn't resent her for it when I was younger, but I noticed the differences. I got a pat on the back for a good report card. She got dinner out. I won regional science fairs. She made varsity cheer and got a car. By the time we were adults, our relationship was surface level. She moved into corporate PR, and I became a vet tech. We lived in the same city, but months would go by without talking. I'd get updates through my mom. When she got engaged last year, I wasn't surprised she didn't ask me to be her maid of honor. What stung was when she didn't ask me to be anything. Nobody this month. No ride. No toast. Nothing. When I asked her about it, once casually, she brushed it off with, "Oh, you hate weddings and dressing up, don't you? I figured you'd rather just enjoy it stress-free." I didn't argue. I tried to convince myself I didn't care. I kept my distance during the planning. I RSVP'd yes and planned to go, smile, and support. The day of the wedding, I showed up in a dress she hadn't seen before, a deep green gown that actually made me feel beautiful for once. My mom said, "That's a bit much, don't you think?" I brushed it off. Everything was going fine until the reception. I was seated at a table with some distant cousins and a few of Hannah's friends. One of her college friends, Ashley, was tipsy and chatty. She said, "Wait, you're Hannah's sister? Why weren't you a bridesmaid?" I shrugged and said, "You'd have to ask her." She laughed like I was joking, then said, "No, seriously, weren't you, busy or something?" I said, "Nope, I just wasn't asked." Ashley looked stunned. "Really? That's crazy. You two seemed close when I met you at her birthday." I said, "We're not close." She just chose not to include me. There was a pause. Someone else changed the subject. I didn't think anything of it, except apparently Ashley went and told Hannah that I was telling people she'd excluded me. I didn't even get to finish my drink before Hannah stormed over, visibly upset. She pulled me aside and hissed, "What are you doing?" I was confused. She said, "You're telling people I banned you from the bridal party?" I told her no. I answered her question honestly. I wasn't asked, and someone noticed. She said, "You're trying to make me look bad on my wedding day." I said, "If it looks bad, maybe that's not on me." She started crying, said I was jealous and bitter and trying to make everything about me. Her husband, now BL, came over and awkwardly pulled her away. I left shortly after that, mostly because I felt like I didn't belong there. The next day, I woke up to text from my mom saying I'd embarrassed the family and humiliated Hannah on her big day. A few of our relatives chimed in too, saying it was inappropriate to bring up drama. I pointed out I didn't bring anything up. I answered a question. Should I have lied? Here's the thing. I was hurt I wasn't included, and I know it was her day, not mine. But I didn't make a scene. I didn't bring it up. I didn't even plan to talk about it. Someone asked, and I gave an honest answer without trashing her. Since then, Hannah hasn't spoken to me. My mom keeps pushing me to apologize, just to smooth things over. She says I made a private family issue public and that I knew what I was doing. I've been sitting with this for weeks. I can't tell if I messed up or if I'm just being scapegoated for feelings no one wants to deal with. So, Reddit. AITA for being honest when someone asked why I wasn't in the bridal party. AITA for making my sister cry after she tried to surprise me by remodeling my late wife's art studio. My 35M wife, Sarah, passed away 3 years ago from a rare form of cancer. We were married for 6 years and together for 10. She was the love of my life and one of the most creative, warm, vibrant people I've ever known. She was an artist, mainly mixed media and sculpture, and we converted our garage into a home art studio for her shortly after we got married. After she passed, I couldn't bring myself to change anything in that space. It became a kind of memorial to her. I kept the studio just as she left it. Unfinished projects, jars of brushes, her tools, the shelves she built herself. I didn't go in there often, but when I did, I found comfort in it. Like I could still feel her energy in there. It was one of the few places that made her truly happy, and, I guess in a selfish way, it's one of the only parts of her I still have control over. My younger sister, Emily, 28F, has been staying with me temporarily. She recently got divorced and needed a place to crash. I didn't hesitate to offer the guest room. She's my sister, and we've always been close, even though she can be impulsive. She's been with me for about 3 months now, and while there have been some little annoyances, nothing major. Until last week. I came home from work on Thursday and noticed something strange, a faint smell of paint and sawdust. I walked to the back of the house and saw the garage door wide open. When I stepped inside, I froze. The studio was completely changed. The walls had been painted a soft pastel blue. They were previously a warm gray. All of Sarah's canvases and tools were gone. Her custom-built shelving had been replaced with sleek, IKEA-style cabinets. The art table she loved, the one I built her as a wedding gift, was gone, replaced by a smaller, modern desk with a mirror on it. The floor was even redone. Her sculptures, half completed and still standing where she left them, were nowhere to be seen. I honestly thought I was having a stroke. I just stood there, blinking, not understanding what I was looking at. Emily came in behind me, beaming. She said, "Surprise? I've been working on this while you were at work." I turned the garage into a home beauty studio. I figured it was time to let go of the past and move on. And now you can rent this out, or I could use it for side business. Isn't it amazing? I didn't say anything at first. I walked over to the new desk, opened a drawer, and found it filled with cosmetics and hair products. I asked her where Sarah's things were. She waved her hand and said, "Don't worry, I boxed everything up neatly and stored it in the attic." I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just said, very quietly, "You had no right." She started getting defensive, said she was helping me move on, and that living in the past isn't healthy. She even had the audacity to tell me, "It's been 3 years. Don't you think it's time to make space for the future?" That's when I snapped. I told her to pack her things and be out of my house by the weekend. She stared at me like I slapped her. She kept saying she was just trying to do something nice, that I was being ungrateful, that it's not like Sarah was coming back. I repeated that I wanted her gone. She left the next day. My mom called me in tears, saying Emily showed up sobbing and heartbroken and now has nowhere to stay. She said I was cruel for kicking out my grieving sister over some old paint and brushes. I explained everything, but Mom said Emily was just trying to bring life back into the house, and I should have been more appreciative of the gesture. She says I'm choosing the memory of a dead person over the needs of someone who's alive and hurting. I haven't talked to Emily since she left. I went into the attic and found Sarah's things, crammed into plastic bins like junk. Some of her pieces were broken. One of her sketchbooks had water damage. I broke down and cried harder than I have in years. I know Emily's been through a rough time with her divorce. And I know, in her mind, she thought she was doing something kind. But that studio wasn't just some room in the house. It was sacred. It was a part of Sarah that I wasn't ready to let go of. So, Ida,